Welcome to Center Hice Productions. This is a retape. This tape was actually done in the morning. It glitched in my system, so I apologize. It's getting out a little late, so it's going to be two back-to-back tapes. This is Friday night's game again with Hice visiting the Habs and defeating us 2-1. Please hit the likes and the subscribe in the bottom right-hand corner. So, this game was, we're going to give you the lineup first. It was Armia, Monahan, Josh Anderson, Pearson, Evans, and Gallia for the second line, Wabeck and Ilonen for the third line, and Mysak, Stevens, and Jones for the fourth line. And then our defensive pairings were Harris and Mailloux, Arbor and Lindstrom, and Bodine and Barron. And Primo was in net. And I kind of, I know that the two goals weren't outstanding from Primo's part. However, very much left out to dry. And who was the player of the game? It was Toronto Maple Leafs showed up, and Nye single-handedly just was outstanding. I'd love to have this kid on our team. He is just phenomenal. I'd love to know where they seem to come up with these players. Nyes just single-handedly was just outstanding last night. And Montreal, I don't even know what the point of them being there was. It was a disgrace, a total, utter disgrace of the performance that was on the ice last night. By far, our best line was Waugh, Beck, and Ilonen. Waugh and Beck stood out the most from the whole team. Ilonen wasn't bad. Made a mistake at one point. However, there are several mistakes made in several games. Overall, his game was fairly good. Just that Beck and Waugh was better. And even though Josh Anderson, they came up and they got the first two goals. It was 2-0 for the longest time. It was really, there was no game here. This was just a joke. The sputtering from the teams, it was a disgrace. I couldn't believe it. I was startled with this. Number one, Yoel Armida, you can't waste a roster spot anymore with this guy. He can be the nicest guy in the world, which he seems to be. He's too soft, and he just doesn't show up enough. And for me, I would not let Ilonen or Waugh or possibly Heineman, if he can change. I'm not totally. I don't see the same urgency in Heineman's game as I seen in last preseason, the year before, where he had made it but got injured, unfortunately. And same thing when he played Laval. He was outstanding when he came back, but I haven't seen the same urgency. He's definitely been okay, but that's just not the level I was expecting him to come out. He had way more urgency his prior preseason. But Waugh has had a pretty darn good camp, and so it's a shame that. And for me, I again with Jake Evans, Jake Evans being on the second line with Gallia and Pearson, like where were these guys? I mean, I didn't notice this line whatsoever. Gallia at least looked. I guess you spotted him. He was there, but overall, I wasn't impressed. Monahan was probably the next best player after Waugh and Beck as far as forwards. And Jones, that fourth line to me was garbage, to be honest. This shows why Mysak, Stevens, and Jones all need to go back to the AHL. Yeah, Jones was more noticeable than the other two on his line, for sure. And he was more noticeable than Pearson, Evans, and Gallia. I'll give you that, grant you that, and Armia. But other than that, that's about it. I wouldn't say he was outstanding. He was just more noticeable. He's got such a big frame. He just doesn't use it enough. Not for a guy that size, he's not physical enough, and his foot speed. That's what really kills him is his foot speed. There's a let up. But anyway, overall, so we finally do score with a beautiful pass from Monahan to Anderson, and Anderson again just almost looked identical to the goal he scored earlier. Perfect shot. Actually, it was like sort of very similar to Slav's goal, except that it was a direct pass and it was beautiful. And he just fired it. Did a great job. So at least we broke the shutout. However, I can't knock Primo for this. I know the two goals weren't. They were stoppable. Um, grant you, however, I thought Primo was half decent. That was my. I'll actually give him a vote of confidence compared to the rest of the club because the rest of the club was just utterly disgraceful. And like I say, you had Nyes and Kaufman scoring for the Leafs, and that's pretty much how that game was won early. I can't even believe it. Every last one of these guys should have been taken out in the backyard and kicked the hell out of because I didn't notice Pearson. I didn't. And Evans, you can't tell me you're going to hold on to Evans and block a guy like Ylonen out. He's got too much upside compared to Evans. Evans to me is done. He's not been the same. He gives you all he's got. I grant you that he's got heart. He's just not the same player, and he's hit his ceiling. And he's definitely fourth line material the most. And I wouldn't, where we're in a situation with Ylonen, I would not lose Ylonen on the waivers for Jake Evans for him to have that spot. No, thank you. To me, it's just not worth the risk of losing Ylonen. There's this guy's got a very good IQ and plays a good defensive game. So I think it's time to move Evans, and I'd love to see Armia go, but nobody's going to want that contract. But Evans, we've heard teams like Edmonton interested in him. Do it, because you got to open the door for, Pinard looks like he's a shoe in, and then you got Waugh, and Alone and Heineman, and it's you know, I think Beck will probably. I think he needs to size up a little more. He looks great, got all the ingredients, just still needs a little more beef. I could knock him overall, but the team was terrible. And like I said, line four, they showed why they're not deserving of a spot in Montreal. Sorry, Mysak and Stevens and Jones, and Stevens just outrageously. No, it's just really bad. Uh, so yeah, pathetic effort for the Habs. They should, I think Pee Wee's could have played that game better, and than with the effort that was put out. And I hope I never see something that disgraceful again, because you had Toronto's weakest lineup, and for us to not be able to make a game out of that was your best chance to steal a win. Because Toronto's going to make their lineup a little stronger tomorrow night, and then you'll probably see them with Matthews in their third and final game. So yeah, just a disgrace. And like I say, I have to give Primo a bit of a vote of confidence here. He wasn't bad. He was better than what I've seen him. It's probably one of his better games, even though the goals were yeah. However, you give up a shorthanded goal, it's just not cool, and yeah, not pleasant whatsoever. And so yeah, the game ended up 2-1, and that was the end of that. And, like I say, you can see for me another point being made. Best defenseman on the ice was Harris, and anybody, please tell me. I heard the argument from Grant McKay on Tony Marinaro's show that Lidstrom was better than Kasevich. You want to show me where? Because I'm sorry, as I see it right now, yes, Mayu has to go back to get some seasoning. There's no doubt about it. He needs to work on his defensive game. Mind you, love to see them try him on the forwards, because big wing. He could play a big winger. I doubt they'll ever clue into that. But he's, to me, got more ingredients of being better than Josh Anderson on the wing, using his weight and having a little pretty good offensive talent. So, but that won't happen. Anyway, he needs to go to Laval and work on his defensive game. Harris was probably by far the most steady defenseman. Uh, Jack Guy didn't even look sharp, but being paired with Lidstrom, how are you going to look sharp? So anyway, for me, it's very straightforward. Barron looked like garbage. Bodine, horrible, horrible, horrible. He definitely needs to go back to Laval. No doubt about it. And yeah, so I don't know where we stand. Do you give Primo another shot and see where it stands? Because to me, I will say this much: none of our goaltenders, other than, and I know Dobbs got blown out against Buffalo in that first game, but that was also the only reason he got that game would have been way worse. He still looked good in the game, even though they were blown out. He looked good. It was the team in front of him that left him out to hang and dry. He's looked the best to me, unfortunately, in training camp, in the even preseason, all of this joined together. By far, I'm not been impressed with Sam Montembeault. He's been sloppy. Um, Allen doesn't look sharp, and Primo didn't look sharp for a good portion of this. Uh, the in-house, the red and white games played. He didn't look sharp whatsoever. But tonight, or last night, sorry, he looked half decent. So I'd have to say, the goaltenders, it hasn't been a good show for them, because really Miller and Dobish to me had better showings, and they won't be in the NHL. So it's really a three-way battle, and it's do or die for Primo, which is not looking promising. He's only had one good show. So anyway, that being said, total utter disgrace. I mean, I think all the veterans especially should be. I mean, I didn't notice. There was nobody noticeable. It was nice to see. Monahan was at least doing something. Anderson, you get your 5 minutes out of him. Other than that, the kid line of Wabeck and Yolonen were the only guys that deserved any credit, and Harris was the most stable defenseman by far, hands down. So, that being said, thank you very much for joining me. We will catch you in the next episode, which will be coming out shortly, because the other game, yeah, and the other, yeah, and we'll have some added news in the next one. There was some news I just wanted to roll out that, yeah, I'll roll with it in the next day. Anyway, there's some added news will be on the next episode of the guys put on waivers and the guys sent down to Laval. We got that news today of a lot of cuts. We're down to 35 players now. All right, thank you. Where's the puck drop first? Here at Center Hice. And please hit the likes and subscribe. Let's get 150 likes. Please tell your friends and family. I really appreciate your support and trying to get this channel up and in the numbers and where we need to be. And we'll catch you in the next episode. And thank you very much for joining me. Leave your comments. I'd appreciate to hear them. Tell me what you thought of that Friday night horrific game last night. All right. Thank you very much. God bless.